In this video, I'm going to talk about some very common myths and misconceptions about mixing, specifically about what mixing can and can't fix about your production. In music, it can be a bit tricky to know what issues need to be addressed during production and what you can leave to your engineer to handle. And without any kind of way for you to know you're done, you might end up endlessly tweaking your project with no clear finish line in sight. But there actually is a fairly straightforward way to know that your production is ready to be sent to your engineer, and knowing when your project's ready for mixing will definitely help you get more and more projects across the finish line without spiraling into perfectionism every time you want to release something. And I know this because I am an engineer, so I know what's fixable on my end and what issues need to be addressed during production. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to walk you through the two general types of issues that have to be addressed before you send anything to your engineer. And after that, I'll give you a quick checklist you can reference that will let you know whether the project you're working on needs some further refinement or if it's ready to be mixed. Let's get into it. Getting your music mixed professionally has a ton of benefits for artists. If done well, it makes your tracks sound cohesive, it makes sure the listener's attention is pointed to the right places at the right times, and it ultimately just supercharges the emotion that your song is going after. An analogy I like to use is this: a song is like a play, and you, as the songwriter, are the playwright. And if you play and record all the instrumentation yourself, then you're also all the actors in the play. Essentially, you are the heart and soul of the play itself. You, as the artist, are everything that's good about the play or song. The art is yours. However, imagine the greatest play ever written with a cast of the greatest actors of all time. Imagine a play of this caliber performed in the parking lot of a Wendy's with all the actors just dressed in casual clothes, no makeup, no staging, just no effort really put into the play's presentation. Unfortunately for this play, despite the quality of the writing and the skill of the actors, many onlookers wouldn't even give the play a second glance. If you chained people to the fence and forced them to watch the entirety of the play, then yes, many of those people would likely notice the quality of the writing and the skill of the actors. But this play would do much, much better if it was performed in a massive, established auditorium, complete with professional makeup and costume artists, stage design, proper audio, and lighting that guides the viewer's attention across the stage. This is what good post-production does for your music. Good post-production just makes sure your song, aka your play, is received and listened to in its absolute best light, the perfect version of itself and all it can be. Now, if the play has problems at its core, such as a weak plot or lackluster acting performances, good makeup and lighting won't magically make the critics love it. Good post-production doesn't make bad music sound good. It makes good music sound great. But the question remains, how do I know when to send my music to my engineer? The play analogy has a pretty clean divide between the play, the actors, and the staging or whatever. But the lines are definitely a bit blurrier when it comes to music production and post-production. So let's talk about it. Issues that aren't fixable in the mixing stage mostly fall into one of two categories. I classify them as either performance issues or arrangement issues. Let's talk about performance issues. I've seen a few viral reels and TikToks online where engineers will take these horribly out of tune and weak vocal takes, process the shit out of them, and post the before and after as quote-unquote fixing them. And while it's entertaining content, seeing how they're able to transform a really bad vocal, that's all it is. It's just entertainment. The vocals still sound terrible in these clips, just maybe not as abrasive as the unprocessed versions of them. In reality, mixing cannot fix bad performances, and that's true for every instrument. If your timing's all over the place, you're horribly out of tune, or your dynamics are just wildly inconsistent, you really have two options. Either rehearse the part more, or simplify the part. There's no hidden third option where your engineer can just magically fix your performance. You do not need to get insanely technical with your performances if you're not a master of your instrument. Write parts that are actually playable for you at your skill level. Listen to your favorite artists and take note of how comfortable they are with the parts they're playing. It's not the mix that makes them sound that skilled, they actually are that skilled. And they're also not writing insanely difficult compositions unless they know they'll be able to play it cleanly. With that being said, it's totally fine to leave some minor pitch or timing issues in there, as long as the performance as a whole is mostly fine. And please don't use this advice as an excuse to be a perfectionist. Human error and our imperfections when playing is what makes music so good. But there's a difference between human error that's charming and natural and just a recording of someone playing a piece they have no business trying to perform. No amount of processing can fix a sloppy performance, and 9 times out of 10, attempting to do so just makes it worse, because at least the raw recording sounded human. Now let's talk about arrangement issues. Let me tell you about humans, and this is really, really important to remember when it comes to your compositions. Humans can only focus on one thing at a time. In storytelling, there's a protagonist, one hero, one focal point and journey that the entire story is designed to support. This is true for almost every great story told. Maybe you can get away with 2 or 3 hero characters, but the human brain gets confused and irritated fast if you try to tell it to focus on more than one thing at a time. This is why I love the theater analogy so much, because your arrangement in music should mirror what a play is. Plays typically are designed so the audience focuses on one part of the stage at a time, utilizing character movements, spotlights, and volume to direct the audience's attention. Each of your sections in your song should have their own focal point, and generally not more than one. Dissonant music stems from the listener being confused and not knowing what single element to focus on, and that's true for every single genre of music. If you have a lead vocal stacked with a lead guitar on top of a piano riff that's doing way too much, there's no amount of EQ I can apply as an engineer that will carve out space for all of those elements. You have to arrange in a way that makes it ridiculously easy for the listener to know what the lead is. And I promise, the listener will never think your lead is too loud or upfront. And from an engineering perspective, it is 1000% better for your arrangement to be, if anything, too sparse, because it's way easier for me to beef up your arrangement and fill up the empty space with effects. But to be honest, I've never seen an arrangement that felt too sparse or too simple. I've only ever seen arrangements that are doing way too much. And really, the only tool I have that's able to fix the issue of there being too many elements competing for the listener's attention is the mute button. I want to also clarify, I'm only talking about melodic elements here. Percussive elements, such as your drums and percs, can generally be cranked pretty loud as long as the pattern is repetitive, because the human brain is great at internalizing repetitive elements so it can focus on melodies. So overall, if you don't have any issues related to the 2 camps of problems that we just talked about, and you're happy with the song as a whole, that's a good sign that it's probably ready to be sent to your engineer. But now I'm going to give you a 5-part checklist just in case you find yourself unsure in the future if your music's ready for post-production. This should help you prevent from going down endless perfectionism spirals while simultaneously making your engineer's life so much easier, as well as your own. The first 2 items on your checklist could be combined, but I split them up anyway. But the items are checking if you're happy with the pitch and timing of all your performances. Another way to think about it is if your pitch and timing aren't adjusted at all by the engineer, would you still be happy to release the project? As I mentioned earlier, it's okay if your performances have flaws. That's what makes art amazing. Flaws should be embraced. But don't send your engineer a vocal take of you singing all over the place and expect them to magically make you sound amazing, because it's not possible. Great performances you hear from your favorite artists sounded great straight out of the recording room, and no amount of processing can turn a sloppy take into a good one, despite what you might see on TikTok. Item 3, does each section have a clear, identifiable lead? Remember, humans can only focus on one thing at a time. Always keep that top of mind when writing your music. Intrigue is created by contrast, not by throwing up a ton of complicated parts on different instruments at the same time in the same register. All this will do is confuse the listener, and the listener will interpret this confusion as the song being bad. So identify the lead element of each section of your song and make sure nothing else is overtly distracting our attention away from it. Item number 4, mute each track one by one to check if your song actually needs it. You might have heard this trick before, but I'm going to add an important asterisk to it, which is mute each track one by one while focusing on the lead. The point of this tip is to declutter your arrangement so it only has the elements that it needs. But it won't really help if you're literally listening for the element that you're muting. If I'm focused on this ambient guitar part in the very back while I'm toggling its mute on and off, of course it'll sound weird, because that's what you're focused on. So you need to focus on the lead that you defined in the previous item on this checklist. Gauge the emotion your lead is trying to convey. While focused on your lead, mute every individual instrument track one by one in your project. See if the lead's emotion actually takes a hit or not. If the groove's pocket or the emotion is clearly affected, feel free to keep that element in. But if you can't even tell a difference or you're unsure how much it would actually affect a first-time listener, consider getting rid of it. Those professional mixes you hear that sound super wide, spacious, and expansive, The arrangement has to support that width. Your song probably needs way less than you think to hit the same emotion you're going after, and less is always more in the world of music. Item number 5, do you love the song? The best and most important item for last. Mixing engineers can't magically make you love a song that you didn't already love. But if you already love your song, they can make you love it even more. This item also trumps all other items on this checklist. For example, if you're going through item number 3 and you're like, Charlie, I have 2 lead guitars and a vocal all playing at the same time, and that's why I love this song, then fuck it. Ignore everything I've said. These are just guidelines for making your life easier as a songwriter, but all rules can be broken, and they should be broken if it makes you love your art more. I can only speak for myself, but if you come to me with an absurdly dense and complicated album with terrible performances and 7 different leads all playing at the same time, but you honestly love the way it sounds as is, I'd be more than happy to mix it for you, or at least attempt to. But I can't speak for every other engineer. I think a normal engineer might kill you, so keep that in mind. And on that note, if you actually are an artist and you make indie pop or synth pop or dream pop or psychedelic pop or any other alternative pop genre, and you need an engineer for your next project, I'd love to help. If that sounds like you can go ahead and click the link in the description of this video. It will take you to a quick questionnaire, and after filling it out, you'd be able to book a call to chat with me. The point of the call would be for both of us to quickly get to know each other and figure out if we'd be a good fit to work together. So once again, if you're in the market for an engineer for an upcoming project, feel free to click that link in the description. And that's all I have on this topic, so thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.